From a gas station explosion in Saudi Arabia that sent concrete flying everywhere, to a barge that broke in two in Serbia due to excessive weight, to a swimming pool that leaked and fell in a Brazilian parking lot, to a Nebraska woman who ruined her family's 4th of July celebration, here are 10 extreme moments captured by security cameras. The capital and largest city of Heilongjiang province in China is Harbin. Geographically similar to northeastern Canada, it is in northeast China and has exceptionally harsh winters and autumns. In November 2021, snow fell in Harbin. The city's streets were slushy and tall icicles hung from the buildings. A slab of ice fell outside an office building as two guys were conversing there. It just missed them. What is lovely? God says that this is not lovely. Both men took the right course of action and left the building. Nobody can predict when another icicle will start to fall. As the video slows down, we can clearly see how massive the ice block is. That ice chunk can be as big as your windshield. Icing over is no laughing matter. Although they are rarely sharp enough to pierce the skin, they can nonetheless fracture bones and cause bruising. You can have a severe concussion if one strikes you in the head. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimate that at least 1 million accidents involving ice occur in the U.S. annually. How many of those are caused by icicles falling is uncertain. I'd like to ask you to subscribe before we move on. Here we discuss severe weather events and other instances when nature's strength was demonstrated. You only need to donate with your subscription if you want to help us expand this community. We count on you. In July 2013, a deluge of rain descended upon the Chinese city of Yan'an for several days. Landslides and unexpected floods affected around 1 million people. On July 13, 2013, they were going to tally 4 more. Near the city of Yan'an, 4 villagers were traveling along a mountainous route. Up until their car was covered in a sizable avalanche, everything appeared normal. Fortunately, everyone inside was able to escape unscathed. The whole car was buried by the landslide in a matter of seconds. The street camera can barely stay steady because of how violent it is. As the car approaches the cliff's edge, the taillights are hardly visible through the dust. Finally, the landslide comes to an end. It seemed that no one could possibly have survived. Then, miraculously, 2 men emerge from the vehicle, while a third man struggles to exit but succeeds after a brief tumble. All 3 men are in utter disbelief. They return to save their 4th passenger after first making sure no other vehicles are approaching on the mountainside. Due to its high rainfall, China is a nation that experiences landslides frequently, which makes scenarios like this one far too frequent. Thankfully, none of the 4 men in this video were hurt. We just hope they had adequate landslide insurance for their vehicle. Southeast Vietnam's major city of Long Can is home to 171,000 people, including one extraordinarily fortunate individual. On July 5, 2022, a plainly inebriated man in his 50s made the decision to go for a late-night stroll. He had to cross the north-south railroad tracks as part of his journey, but it appears that his intoxication prevented him from realizing that a train was coming and that the barriers were down. The luckiest event of his life then transpired. Trim Banta, a 33-year-old employee in charge of the railway crossing, had a straightforward job: to lower the barriers when the approaching train draws closer. Banta, fortunately, does his job quite well. Our inebriated man attempts to beat the train at that precise moment by ducking beneath the barrier, but he trips and hits his face against the ground. Banta leaps into action and saves the man without pausing. The drunken man can hardly stand when the train passes by at full speed a few seconds later. The train was much farther away than he imagined, Banta tells him, as he gives him a stern lecture about crossing the railroad safely. Let this movie serve as a lesson on patience and the effects of alcohol intoxication. This man only needed to wait 2 minutes, and perhaps he wouldn't have ended up a buzzed-about online celebrity. Be cautious when refueling the next time you find yourself in Saudi Arabia. Local gas station employees experienced a scary experience on May 15, 2022. You should probably turn away if you have an unreasonable phobia of gas station explosions. Pay attention to the reserve tank area on the left side of the screen as a queue of automobiles and trucks waits in line to fill up at the pump. After passing, a white sedan leaves the station. They are unaware of the situation, which they just barely dodged. The reserve tank section burst moments later, sending concrete blocks hurtling through the air. The gas station is filled with heavy black smoke. That's likely what resembles the gates of hell, in our opinion. Watch the caps blow off as the pressure within rises. In a split second, the entire area explodes. We've learned that the reserve tanks allegedly detonated because of the region's high temperatures. We are unable to pinpoint the actual cause of it since Saudi Arabia has provided us with scant information. Enshi is a little city in central China. Although when we say tiny, we really only mean tiny by Chinese standards. It still has about 780,000 people living there. Its location on the banks of the Qing River draws many tourists in the summer and offers a diverse selection of lodging options, dining establishments, and spas. Locals were strolling along the street on December 27, 2019, after the visitors had left, when they were startled by a loud cracking sound. The scale of the sinkhole cannot be accurately captured in the original security camera film. Its size only becomes apparent when onlookers begin taking cell phone videos of it. An overhead view provides us with a comprehensive overview of the scene. When the sinkhole appeared, local officials did not receive any injury reports. The driver was unharmed, but the road remained closed until January 1st while repairs were made. Although the reason for the sinkhole was never mentioned, it appears the road was constructed on somewhat hollow ground, which most likely collapsed after years of use and abuse. Located on the banks of the Danube River, a 2,855-kilometer waterway that runs from western Germany to the Black Sea, Smederevo is a significant river city in central Serbia. Workers were loading a barge with minerals and sediments from the riverbank on April 8, 2021. The barge needed to be watched over to make sure it wasn't overcrowded. Naturally, after this video surfaced, that employee was let go. They are lucky that the barge didn't break in two like the Titanic and crash into the dock. We applaud the bold move of jumping from the sinking ship to the dock as well. A Serbian business called DMV Shipping owned the barge and the equipment. Several DMV employees were charged with breaking various workplace rules throughout the year 2021. One of those regulations, we bet, was to prevent the barge from separating into two pieces. Gujarat is the fifth largest state in India, but because it has the longest coastline, it is a very important marine state. In actuality, India's public and private ports handle 40% of the country's ocean cargo. These Indian port workers follow highly strict schedules, just as port workers in other nations do. A truck driver entered on August 28, 2019, a little bit too quickly. As the truck descended the ramp, everything appeared normal. Nevertheless, it wasn't until the truck tried to turn that you realized it was moving too quickly. The vehicle almost topples over before it disappears from view. Everyone's attention is drawn to what is happening. A new angle of the security cameras shows the truck crashing into the lake. Everyone races to the crash to offer any assistance that they can. Those who saw the video promptly pointed the finger at the brake failure rather than the strict delivery deadlines. The driver and the passenger were extricated and given little medical attention. Their cargo, meanwhile, descended to the Arabian Sea's floor. Subscribe. The next story serves as a warning concerning jinxes. A Nebraskan family gathered on July 4, 2022, to let off fireworks in their front yard. They lit each bomb on the street one by one out of a carload of explosives that were allowed in Nebraska. You know how when you're watching a game, the announcer says something like, "He hasn't missed a goal in 7 matches," and of course the player misses the goal? On July 4, 2022, that is what we refer to as the announcer's jinx. So unintentionally, this woman cursed her entire family.
That's what happened on New Year's, was those fireworks were bad and it just...
She ought to have been instructed to knock on wood right there and then. The most obvious jinx of all time is what you're going to witness. You may have seen this video circulating on social media. It became so well known that some claimed the Simply Safe doorbell business staged it as part of a marketing initiative. To refute these accusations, they even tweeted. When the video became viral, people started blaming the family for publishing it and protesting. However, they weren't the ones who first uploaded it. In case the fireworks caused damage to their property and they required proof for insurance claims, they forwarded the footage to a few neighbors. It soon became viral after one of those neighbors shared it with a friend, who then forwarded it to another neighbor. Visit Vila Velha, a beachfront city on the Brazilian island of Espírito Santo, if you're planning a trip to Brazil. This location is well known for its stunning beaches and opulent structures. On April 22, 2021, inhabitants of a seaside building noticed a weird stench coming from the hotel pool. It smelled like gas, especially when the heated pool was operating at full capacity. It turned out to be a prudent option to decide against swimming until the issue could be identified. They all heard a tremendous crash as the bottom of their 23-meter pool fell at around 10 o'clock in the evening, with the majority of tenants either in bed or unwinding. The water overflowed, filling the ground floor of the parking lot. The 270 residents of the building were evacuated by the authorities, who then gave them free lodging at adjacent hotels. They tested the structure's stability in the interim to make sure it wasn't about to collapse. Fortunately, all of the cars in the parking lot only got a free car wash and weren't damaged in any way. 5 days later, after the structure was declared secure, the residents moved back in. The pool had to be shut down for 3 months in 2020 due to a leak. Maybe they didn't do a good enough job of fixing it. They were never able to identify the source of the gas smell. A 5.2 magnitude earthquake struck the city of Baoshan on May 2, 2023. When it happened, most people were asleep because it was 11:30 p.m. Beijing time. The small earthquake, which was caught on camera by a number of security cameras located throughout the city, only lasted a few seconds, but you can only imagine how terrible and destructive that time can be. You worried about the dog and the cows, don't you admit it? According to accounts, the earthquake injured 10 individuals and caused damage to about 3,000 homes. Fortunately, everyone recovered fully. The earthquake management team declared a level 3 state of emergency, the third highest out of 4 levels. To help people get to safety, they sent almost 2,400 rescue professionals to the city. 34 emergency shelters were built by the local authorities to house the approximately 11,000 impacted people. Join our community by enabling notifications on the channel and subscribing to receive updates on new material. Your presence is highly valued. We eagerly await our subsequent meeting.